Welcome to the Amazon's podcast. I'm Glenn Young, owner of Amazon's fitness magazine, Celebrate the Female Physique. Subscribe to Amazon'sFitMag.com. The podcast is brought to you by GPS Photography and Video. Why photography and video? Because if a photo's worth 1,000 words, video's worth 1,000,000. GPSPhotoandVideo.com. And Amazon's Fitness Magazine is a publication of GPS Photography and Video. My guest is IFBB Women's Physique Pro. She's getting ready to do a show here in Orlando. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Tracey Jones.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, really appreciate you coming on. As always, this is episode 99 of the Amazon's podcast, so this is pretty cool.
99, and especially that's exciting.
Yeah. So I don't know who I'm gonna get for 100, but I guess I should get it soon as everyone will be returning from the Olympia and try to do like some post wrap up stuff. So awesome. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are. I know of you, have been following you for a while, and I gotta say you're the pics that you've been posting, your progress pics. You look amazing.
Thank you. I live in Eastern Kentucky with my family, so we are not in the mecca of bodybuilding here. We are about as far removed from professional bodybuilding here as you can imagine. No pros, no bodybuilding gyms. This is not. This is as far out as you can imagine. Yeah. So I live in a really rural area. I have 2 kids, one in college from home and one in high school. And I spent probably 10 or 15 years competitive powerlifting. So there is some crossover in, bodybuilding and powerlifting. So, a little bit, but I retired in 2020 was my last meet. And I wanted to see what my potential was for bodybuilding because, you have people tell you things all the time, but you don't know, really. Right. So I thought, hey, let's do a show. Let's see, let's give it a go. So I'd never even been to a show in my life before last April. And we did that show. And then 6 weeks later, did Junior USAs and won the overall my pro card. And welcome to bodybuilding.
There you go.
So it's been a bit of a quick adjustment, but we're learning.
Well, it's always great when you can find instant success and somebody had to see something and then you right off the bat get your pro card. And I know about where you at. I'm originally from Anstead, West Virginia. So West Virginia and Kentucky sort of close. What's the town there that you're from?
The closest town that anyone would probably recognize would be Pikeville. I'm in between Pikeville and Huntington, West Virginia. In that road.
Okay. Yep.
Those are the closest. We're about 4 hours from Louisville, where your nearest bodybuilding community probably is in Louisville. But bodybuilding is growing here in Kentucky.
Yeah,
but we need more women.
You do, and always do. And I'm so glad. How did you think or pick out? I know you came from powerlifting, but what made you think, "Hey, I'm women's physique"?
Honestly, when I look aesthetically, I grew up in the era of, I call it the greatest era of movies. When I grew up, it was the superheroes. You had the Rambos, you had the Rockies, you had Arnold, you had people who looked like, in your mind, the character they played, Conan. And I remember not seeing women who looked that way. Even like Wonder Woman, she looked like a strong wind could blow her over. And I remember thinking, I wish that there were women in that same counterparts to those roles, to have women to look up to. I always wanted to see a strong woman. And then I remember looking into bodybuilding, and then my coach and I were talking about divisions, and there was some talk about being in between, where I was at when I first started, that I could go bodybuilding or women's physique, just depending on where my heart was at. And I really like the conditioning and the packaging that the women's physique girls are putting together. But at the same token, we saw some incredible women in women's bodybuilding this year at the Olympia. I don't know that I've ever seen such
a class of 15. Just seen Amazon that just looked amazing.
Amazing
totally
conditioning, everything, packaging. I mean, you look at what Tracey Jones is bringing to women's bodybuilding. Just for example, you're seeing things. I mean, this is what a time to be in women's bodybuilding and women's physique. I mean, this is amazing. So I just really wanted that look to look strong, look like you put a sword in your hand, and that's just what I wanted. I wanted to look strong because the training has always been my first love, and I wanted my physique to reflect the way that I train, because I train hard and I train brutal. So I wanted the physique to match the training, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the powerlifting background just helped facilitate that even more, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Taught me how to train, how to train. And yes, there's been some things I've had to change training for bodybuilding, but powerlifting taught me how to struggle, how to strive, how to persevere and endure, and how to mentally understand training. So and then the dense muscle you get from heavy lifting, there's just no replacement for it. You can tell, you can look and see when someone, like Angie, for example, you can tell when someone moves some weight.
Yeah. Yeah. They have that background.
Have a look.
So when you look at it though, and both of them were, Angela Yo and Ashley Jones were both women's physique prior to going to women's bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. I gotta ask, do you look at yourself as going up to women's bodybuilding? Even though it's still early, but I mean, what are your long-term goals, or what do you see?
I think that
yourself staying women's physique?
I think that this is something I'm kind of leaning on Andrew for, because he has a lot more experience than me, and we're going to do the show and see what kind of feedback we get, what the judges feel, and, what they think. And then actually after this show, no matter what happens, I want to sit with him and talk to him about where he thinks I'll be more successful long-term. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Now I do have some lines that I'm not willing to cross, and some willing to go, but I love women's physique. That's where my heart is at. But if the feedback was, hey, this is where you need to be, I'm not so stubborn that it's to my own detriment. I guess I'll put it that way.
So this is your pro debut?
Yeah, this will be my pro debut. So it's a big learning experience for sure.
And you went pro in what, 2021?
Yeah, last year, 6 weeks.
Yeah, last 22. Okay.
Yeah, last year.
That's crazy. 2023, and then a year later. So yeah, typically everyone wants to take that year off to build, and before they jump into that first women's or first pro show. Yeah, but you got a great coach. You got Andrew Vu as your coach, huh?
We didn't really put on a lot of size this year at all. That wasn't really our focus. It was a little bit more balance and bringing some things in and just balancing out things a little bit better. But if we need to put on size, that's where we'll get it this off season. But we really wanted to work on shape this year, and then get the feedback from the judges and see what they're looking for from me.
But you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you go in, win, boom, hey, you're rolling on the next year with the Olympia. You just never know what's going to happen. And of course, you got a great coach in Andrew Vu. How did you guys link up?
I'm a watcher. I learned a lot through powerlifting, how to spot a good coach, and what red flags to look for. And so I kind of spent some time in the community talking to other pros who've worked with him, who are working with him, who've worked with him in the past. Right. And I asked all the questions, everything that you could possibly ask, because to me, it's not just about a coach that can win. My health is important. My femininity is important, and I'm, there's certain behaviors that I won't tolerate from a coach. So I spent a lot of time really digging around in the community before I reached out to Andrew. And then I wanted to spend a full year with him before we competed. I wanted him to have a chance to know my body before we put through a prep,
Right.
to learn the way he does things.
And that's critical because the chemistry has to be right there. As you said, the boundaries that you won't cross, the do's and don'ts, and obviously look at the coach's history and vet them. Talk to all who he's coaching and the ins and outs, and go from there before you push forward and make a decision.
Absolutely.
So, what does your family say about all this? Of course, they know you were a powerlifter. What's your family say? What's your husband say? What's your kids say?
This is just hilarious to them. It's just funny because none of this means anything to my family, because I have two in my home that are neurodivergent, that are Asperger's. My husband and my son both. They don't care about any of this.
Right.
So it's so wonderful coming home, and bodybuilding is not a big deal to everyone else. So it's kind of my little sanctuary, away from all of the stress of it. They don't care. I went to Junior USA's alone, completely alone. I go to every show, I travel alone. They just, they don't care. But my kids, my daughter specifically, this has been a journey that she's really been following. And I feel like this can really be something that is meaningful to her.
Right.
So I think that's why it matters to me.
Right. Do you think she'll go into it?
No, no. It's so funny because I've been pro in 2 sports, and neither of my kids have any desire to do anything athletic. They're nerds. They're going to rule the world, but but it's good for them to see, because whether your dream is physical, or if it is, doing what you do, or be an astronaut, or whatever it is, I think it's important sometimes to pull back the curtain and let your kids see what it really takes to get from A to B, what it really takes behind the scenes. Before you say you want something, are you prepared to pay the price for it?
Because it comes with a price and the dedication to it. So no question there. How did you end up picking a show in Florida versus somewhere else across the country to make your pro debut?
Andrew gave me a window of months. He was like, "You're this month, that month. Let's look at these months, shows these month." And I picked a few shows because, obviously, having never been to a pro show, I don't know the vibe, how they're run, what would be best for someone like me for a first experience. Because, all I knew was maybe something like the New York Pro or the Pittsburgh Pro might not be the best first experience for someone who's never even been to a pro show. To do. So I gave him some choices within that month, and then he just picked. And I really don't care. I was just, I'm doing what I'm told, and not stressing about it, not arguing with them. It doesn't matter what show it is. I'm going to do my best, and we'll see.
And roll over from there. And Pittsburgh, New York, those some big ones. And you want to come in where you feel most comfortable with. And it's right at the end of the season, with the Olympia just going down last weekend. So it's a good timing. How long have you been in prep?
Not too long. I think about 15 weeks or so.
Right.
Not a tremendous amount of time.
Well, you look amazing. Of course, I'm a photographer, so maybe that's unfair because I think everybody looks good. So I'm not a judge. So
well, you're in that space, and I'm in the space where you don't trust your judgment at all.
Yeah.
Trust your eyes.
Good stuff. So you chose the Clash, which is 1 November. Pretty exciting in Florida. Hurricane season looks like it's winding down, but it's been a heck of a season down there with the hurricanes and everything. I was at the Tampa Pro, and I literally was going back through that. Ended up being a tropical storm. And of course, all the loss of life and property. So it's been tough. I can only wonder the mindset of everyone that was at the Olympia who live in Florida, and they're worried constantly. So that's just another stressor that they had on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah. How do you handle the stress? Or do you have any stresses on you? Or do you just feel you're in a good place? Because so much of that can actually mess with you or your prep and how you come out?
I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking they have to or they can eliminate all the stress while they're prepping, but that's not real life. I think the key is becoming more resilient to the stress and controlling the variables so that you don't bring on anything unnecessary during that time. So I know, for example, during preps, I move, I don't take on new clients during that time. You know, I am very careful with my workload and my time because I'm also a mother. You know, so it's not just bodybuilding for me. That's my life. You know, I have children in school. They have after school events. They travel. They have, you know, their own events. So it can't be all about me. So I can't eliminate, you know, like a 20-year-old living in mom's basement. I can't eliminate all of my stress. I just have to be mindful to not get involved in things that would cause additional stress and just control who's around me. And my faith is a huge source of my peace and the way that I refocus and handle things. But I think the key is really becoming more resilient instead of trying to live in a bubble. That's just not real. It's just not real life.
And of course, you are a certified health practitioner, full time. Tell me about that and your clients, and who are your best clients that you like to work with?
I have degrees in sports medicine and athletic training and 20 years of certs over, you know, over time. But I think that the clients that I've had the most fun with are probably not what people would expect. They're not the professional athletes, you know, that I've worked with. It is really the seniors and the veterans that I think that I've made the most difference with. You know, people that the quality of their life you can immediately improve. That really does it for me. You know, when you have someone who's just afraid to live alone because they're afraid to fall and not be able to get out of the floor, it really changes your perspective, and it's made me really love what I do. More than
that's one of the leading causes of death with seniors are the falls. And so, and it comes down to quality of life, and you can give them that quality of life. It makes so much difference, you know, in their lives. You know, it look like things are being taken away from simple driving and your day-to-day activities, taking care of yourself. That can be overwhelming.
I also love working with people who have maybe went through physical therapy and still have a huge deficit between where they are and where they need to be. I like working with people who other people just don't necessarily want to work with. But I've really found so much more enjoyment with that than really working with professional athletes. I've worked with college athletes, pros, you know, I've done that. And honestly, I'm at the place in my life where I just want to make a difference.
So you saw the Olympia, you know, here and there. What were your thoughts about it from women's physique, women's bodybuilding? This was a great Olympia, 60 years. What do you think?
It was good, but then we had a lot of new people, you know, and a lot that weren't there this year, you know, for different reasons. You know, there were a lot of pros that did not compete this year. You know, your Brooke Walkers, you know, you had quite a bit like that did not compete that are wonderful athletes. So the pool, it's just letting us know that the pool is there. The pool of talent is there for sure. And I'm loving what we're seeing. I think women's bodybuilding this year, the conditioning.
It was great. It was great to see the whole season going into it. And you had 15 of the world's best in women's bodybuilding and women's physique, because they do have more shows. But it was great to watch too. And they're right there at 20, I want to say 25, and of the best in the world, because not everybody gets to go to an Olympia.
That's true.
And like I said, Brooke Walker, a long mainstay, Spectre back in 2025, and you just get excited going into the next year about how's everything gonna turn out.
I think there's good things coming. And then the way that the Texas Pro was done this year, the money that was put into women's physique, and the way that Sarah has invested in our division, I'm eternally grateful for, to see that kind of growth.
$15,000 prize money. Wow.
That's tangible.
Oh yeah.
You know, that matters.
It really does. Life changing from the standpoint of the prep to where, okay, you invested in and actually made some money from the prep
Be
and everything
honest,
that happened.
you may have $10,000 in the show.
Easy to, very easy.
If you're someone like me who, yes, it's wonderful that you got your pro card in 6 weeks of competing, but at the same time, you're completely unsponsored because no one knows who you are because you got sponsored,
Exactly.
you got your card so quickly. So this is an expensive sport. And then a lot of the prizes, you win first place, you win $2,000. That doesn't even cover your airfare.
Right.
So
exactly.
seeing someone invest in our division is everything. That was great.
It really is. And so, and Texas, hopefully she'll get women's bodybuilding next year. Just have to see. But yeah, as they say, everything's bigger in Texas. And then to have to do multiple shows, and we're just talking about in the synopsis of one show. But if you're trying to get that Olympia qualification, or in a lot of cases, they're trying to get that pro card, you're doing 2 to 3 shows. And that can get expensive real quick.
Yeah, very much so. And I think that's why you have talent out there that is possibly better than what we have and what we're seeing, but they're limited by finances. They can't afford to compete.
You're right. Now, another competitor is from Kentucky, Donna Salib, right?
Yeah, I know.
You think she'll be back next year? Have you
honestly don't know.
Reached out to her to talk to her?
I honestly don't know. I haven't talked to her since right before my national show last year, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's retired. I haven't seen much, any content or anything this past year. So I'm wondering if she's thinking about retiring.
Yeah. And you just never know, because you look for the ones that didn't compete last year. Chelsea Dion everyone that took a year off. You got to have them on a watch list. But hopefully Donna Salib will come back.
I hope so. She's a wonderful human. She's a really good person.
It's only been gone a year. Took the year off to grow or whatever. So
I know.
Until you see the official press conference and say, "Hey, I'm retired," you never know. Look at Hella Trevino. Shoot.
Did she not look amazing this year?
Everybody thought she was done and washed up. She told me all year, say, "Glenn, hey, I'm coming." And to take fourth after being away 2 years. Yeah.
No, I was really impressed with her this year. She looked amazing.
I was impressed with the whole show and impressed with women's physique. Of course, all the 6 divisions, bikini, wellness, fitness. Glad to see Missy Truscott come back and get the title, especially come back from injury. So that was exciting as well. So, and of course, wellness is a senior this year in the Olympia. If you were to look at it from a high school analogy, this is the 4th year for them. So, and they're just getting bigger and bigger. New bikini.
I think they're still trying to figure out what their standard is.
Yeah. But I'm enjoying them figuring it out. But all the women's divisions look really great. They really did. For you, short-term goals, obviously you knock out the Clash, you win, you're done. Now you got to get ready for a whole nother level. But at the same time, what are your expectations of this show, this being your first pro show? And will you go on to compete and do another one in 2025 early or later?
My expectations is to really are more on me and my character and how I conduct myself than anything else, because that's all I can control.
Right.
I'm doing everything I can do. I'm doing what I'm told. But honestly, I just want to, my concerns are more about how I portray myself.
Right.
And doing my best to hold my personal standard. Because this means a lot to me, but it means a lot to me in a different way than a lot of people do. I really want to be someone who can add to the sport instead of seeing what I can take from it. So I'm interested in seeing what I can personally offer to the women's physique division. What can I bring to the sport? And then, like I said, after the show, it would be amazing to qualify and not have to worry about it. That would be amazing.
One and done.
To just be able to work all year. That would be the stars would align. But if not, I want to take the feedback and really listen to what the judges are saying, about where I need to be, what, what I need to do. And then honestly, I would like to compete a little earlier in the year, next year, but I really do try to leave as much up to Andrew as possible because he has experience that I don't, and he knows things, behind the scenes that I don't know, if you do this show, you might want to do that one, that kind of thing. But I do want to grow. I'm ready for a growing season. I'm ready to just lift and eat. Yeah. Everyone loves this part when you're shredded and lean, but honestly, I love training. I love the season no one cares about. Right. I love bear season.
There you go. And you look like a superhero when you shred it, but it's unrealistic to think that you can stay like that all year round. Fans would love that, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's not too healthy. But it is amazing to see the transformation and the work ethic that goes into it. So I think that's what I'm most drawn to see that big change and to see the journey that you went through. Everybody will see the stage and the pomp and circumstance, but they don't know what you've gone through the last 15 weeks. And that's really the story. And that's why I was glad that you came on to talk to me about that, because it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And I think this is amazing part is that you don't even get to feel sorry for yourself for whatever you dealt with and you went through during your own prep, because every other person on that stage has their own story and things they went through.
Right. Their own journey.
And I think that's the beauty of it, that when you stand up there, you're standing alongside people who have walked the same path as you have. And while you're competing against them, honestly, I'm competing against my previous package. I want to beat the package I took to Junior USA's and then take the feedback and beat this package moving forward,
And speaking of which, what was the feedback from the judges at Nationals when you got your pro card, now going into your first pro show? What did they tell you needed to do?
Sandy, I think Sandy was the judge, the head judge for Junior USA's. Yeah. And she said that I could do either one. She said if I could grow into bodybuilding, if that was something, I desired, or I could work on balancing my shape a little bit and growing my back a little wider, pulling my waist in a little more, which is what we did. This time before we added size, we've pulled my waist in and adjusted some of those things. But she said conditioning was where it needed to be, at Junior USA's and that sort of thing. But she did say that I could go either way, just depending on what my personal preference, was. But at the same time, it's where would I be more successful? Where do I fit better?
It's ironic because Andrew Vu has Natalia Coelho, and he also has Ashley Jones, he had Teresa Avancic, and of course Jessica Reyes Padilla. So he got six, the whole realm. Yeah,
this is a crazy.
He's got a myriad background, and you got some great teammates. So yeah.
I'm just really very much a student right now. I want to just learn.
But at the end of the day, enjoy the journey. That's the biggest thing, because
it is. This is the coolest thing ever. I mean, when you think about it, this is the coolest thing ever to be able to do this.
Yeah. And people got to understand, they may say everybody gets a pro card. Not everybody gets a pro card. I mean, they just don't. And every step is one bigger. Not everybody goes to do their first pro show. And certainly not everybody ends up on the Olympia stage. And so people need to be mindful of that, to just like casually say, oh, well, okay, you got your pro card. Now what? But it's steps, and you got to enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the last word. What would you tell the competitors as they are out there now? Everybody's going into their off season, their growth season, and they're looking forward to that junior nationals, even the ones that are coming up in Texas. Yeah. The nationals here, I think, on the 15th of December in Texas. What would you say to you? What is your advice to those competitors?
I would say to protect your love for the sport above everything. So protect your love of training. That needs to be your priority over your love of being seen, your love of being sponsored, your love of being known, your love of being applauded for looking a particular way. You've got to protect your love for the sport, because that will carry you through the hard times when things aren't going right, when you're injured or you missed your peak, or, it's just, you just don't think you could do it another day. If you protect your love for the sport and your love for training, there have been days like that for me where I'm like, I can't do this again. Like, this sucks. This is dumb. Why am I doing this? But then I'll ask myself, what would you be doing today if you weren't competing? Training. Right. How would you be eating if you weren't the same? I would just eat more, but protect your love, because when you get caught up in everything else, all the professional stuff, all the things that start coming into play once you do get the pro card and you're in that realm now, it will really suck the joy out of your journey if you don't protect it. If you get so caught up in how many followers I have, who knows me, like, am I with this company, at that company, like, whatever it is, none of that matters if you don't love what you're doing, if you don't protect your passion. The same passion that got you to where you are is what you have to protect to keep moving.
This is true. Tracey Jones, IFBB Women's Physique Pro, thanks for coming on the Amazon's podcast. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
And she's getting ready to do the Clash on 1 November in Orlando. So all the best, and we'll be watching.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate you.
Bye. And there you have it, Tracey Jones working with Andrew Vu. He had a lot of competitors at the Olympia this year, well vested, well known, and she's making her pro debut at the Clash in Orlando. So this is exciting, and we'll watch her and see how everything ends up. It's always good to watch the competitors' journey, all the 6 divisions for me, because I look at them as all as the Amazons. But the women's physique, women's bodybuilding, you got to love it. And everything that we saw last weekend, especially amongst all the women's divisions, not just women's physique and women's bodybuilding, but they're my favorites. But I love the wellness and bikini as well. Have you ordered your copy of the October special edition issue of Sherry Priami? Well, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go to AmazonsFitMag.com, click on issues, and order your copy. And right behind it, coming up soon, we will have the November issue rolling out. But order this special edition of Sherry Priami. Tells a great story of life as an Olympian, and really gives some great advice. And it was a great article that she wrote, not just from the standpoint of putting it on the cover, but she really opened herself up and talked about a lot of heartwarming things. So enjoy watching her journey this year. And of course, you can get a copy of all of the Amazon's Fitness Magazine copies at AmazonsFitMag.com. So make sure you do that. Also, one special shout out to all of the followers and subscribers to AmazonsFitMag.com, especially those that have been with me since 2022 when the magazine first started. So really appreciate you guys. A lot of people that want to stay nameless, and I get that. So we'll keep your anonymity, but I really appreciate your support, because when you do more, we can do more. Going into 2025, lots of stuff going on, a lot of exciting things that we're working on. So stay tuned. I'm Glenn Young, and we will see you shortly, maybe later on this week. Give all the competitors to get a chance back from obviously the Olympia, and maybe do some post wrap-up stuff, and may have some special visitors come on. And we'll be talking soon now as we continue to grind and get ready for this November issue that's coming out. So talk soon.